Hello friends. What happens when two waves from the same ocean collide, not to crash, but to embrace? What kind of love forms when two hearts, molded by the moon itself, lock eyes in silence but say everything at once? Today, we're diving deep, like Cancer deep, into the cosmic chemistry between a Cancer man and a Cancer woman. It's not just astrology. It's a story. A story about two intuitive souls navigating the sea of life, side by side. But is this a dream pairing, or an emotional shipwreck waiting to happen? Let's break it down across 5 dimensions: love, sex, marriage, friendship, and business. Love, an ocean of emotions. Imagine this: two people meet at a quiet cafe. It's not a grand, cinematic moment. There's no orchestra swelling, no electric bolt of fate. Instead, there's something far more powerful. A stillness. A deep, intuitive calm. They don't rush to speak, they don't fumble for conversation. Instead, they just are. In that silence, something ancient stirs. It's not fireworks, it's moonlight on water. Soft. Reflective. Familiar. That's what happens when a Cancer man and a Cancer woman lock eyes for the first time. It's like recognizing a chapter from a book they didn't know they both read. Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon doesn't shout, it pulls. It governs the tides, whispers to the soul, and reveals itself slowly. That's the tempo of this connection. Both the Cancer man and Cancer woman are deeply emotional, inwardly reflective, and fiercely intuitive. They may seem shy at first glance, but inside, their hearts are full of oceans, waves of feeling, layers of memories, and depth that can drown or heal, depending on the current. The Cancer man carries love like an heirloom, something precious, guarded, and handed out only when he feels absolutely safe. He isn't cold, he's careful. He's the kind of man who remembers the exact words you said when you were upset 2 months ago, not to use them against you, but because they mattered. Because you matter. He needs softness, reassurance, and trust before he fully emerges from his shell. The Cancer woman, on the other hand, is that softness. She offers her heart like a sacred garden. She nurtures, tends, and protects. But she's no pushover. Her emotional intelligence is high, and her boundaries, though gentle, are firm. She doesn't fall in love impulsively, she grows into it. She listens not just to what you say, but to how you breathe, how your eyes shift when you talk about your past, how your energy changes when you're scared. She doesn't need explanations, she needs truth. When these two souls come together, love doesn't explode. It seeps in like fog, slow, inevitable, all-encompassing. They begin to finish each other's sentences. They talk late into the night about things they've never told anyone. They send, just thinking of you, messages that feel like emotional lifelines. They instinctively know when the other needs space, comfort, or just quiet company. And they create a sanctuary out of their love, one where both can be exactly who they are, unfiltered and unafraid. But here's the paradox of such deep emotional resonance: when two people feel so much, so intensely, they can also trigger each other in ways that cut to the core. Both Cancers are sensitive, which is a strength, but without awareness, it becomes a minefield. A misunderstood tone, a missed text, a small emotional oversight can turn into a silent emotional Cold War. Not because either of them is malicious, but because they care so much. And when you care that deeply, even small wounds feel enormous. Both partners have the tendency to retreat into their shells when hurt. The Cancer man might go quiet, trying to sort through his feelings alone. The Cancer woman might cry silently, waiting for him to notice, to ask. And here's the challenge: they're both expecting the other to read their emotional weather without forecast. But no matter how psychic their connection may feel, communication is still essential. Without it, their empathy can twist into projection. Their care can turn into control. Their love can become a loop of unspoken pain. Still, when they learn to speak openly, when they make space for each other's emotional processes, their love becomes something incredible. It's not dramatic. It's not performative. It's real. They become each other's healer. Each other's home. They remember birthdays without reminders, hold hands under the table during stressful dinners, and instinctively show up during the worst days, no questions asked. They build traditions. Sunday mornings with coffee and soft music. Rituals of checking in emotionally. Handwritten letters. Cooking meals from scratch just to make the other smile. They create a world where love isn't about proving, it's about presence. Being there, not because they have to, but because they wouldn't want to be anywhere else. This kind of love doesn't just withstand time, it deepens with it. It's not immune to challenges, but it faces them with quiet resilience. The Cancer man may struggle with expressing his feelings clearly. The Cancer woman might wrestle with over-caretaking, losing herself in the process. But together, they teach each other balance. He learns to share, to open up before the storm. She learns to protect her own heart while nurturing his. And through it all, the moon keeps pulling. Changing phases. Illuminating shadows. Strengthening tides. Their love, like the ocean, is never the same 2 days in a row, but it's always full. Always alive. Always sacred. Sex, intimacy beyond the physical. Sex between a Cancer man and a Cancer woman isn't a performance, it's a ritual. A quiet, sacred space where vulnerability isn't just welcomed, it's worshipped. For them, physical intimacy is never casual, never disconnected from emotion. They don't just touch each other, they feel each other in ways that go far beyond the surface. Every kiss, every caress is a language of its own. It's not about heat, it's about depth. From the very beginning, their sexual journey is shaped by emotional trust. Unlike some pairs who thrive on mystery or play hard to get, the Cancer-Cancer duo thrives on comfort, emotional safety, and mutual understanding. They don't rush into bed. They build intimacy like gardeners tending to delicate roots, ensuring everything is nurtured and protected before anything blooms. Their foreplay starts long before clothes come off, through soft glances, thoughtful gestures, loving silence. A late-night phone call where one listens without judgment. A touch on the back that says, "I see you," without needing words. For these two, emotional connection is the ignition switch for passion. If the heart's not in it, the body won't follow. But when they're emotionally aligned, their physical bond becomes something transcendent. They move with intuitive grace, anticipating each other's needs, reacting to each other's energy like two dancers who've been practicing for years. There's no awkwardness, no rushing, no sense of obligation. There's just presence. Pure, undistracted, emotionally charged presence. Cancer, as a sign, rules the chest, particularly the breasts and heart space, making sensual, nurturing touch a core part of their lovemaking. They explore each other not as conquests, but as sacred lands. Every freckle matters. Every breath is noticed. There's an artfulness to their intimacy. It's never mechanical. It's gentle, poetic, slow, and deeply meaningful. But here's the thing, their sensitivity is both their superpower and their challenge. Because they feel so deeply, even the slightest emotional disconnect can make sex feel impossible. A lingering argument, a harsh word, or even a perceived emotional absence can cause one or both to shut down. Cancers tend to retreat into their shells when they feel hurt, and in a sexual relationship, this can create long, silent droughts of intimacy, where neither wants to initiate out of fear of rejection, yet both crave connection desperately. That's why communication is critical. If they want their passion to not just survive, but thrive, they need to create a space where emotional honesty is a daily habit, not a crisis response. Talking about desires, fears, turn-ons, and triggers should become second nature. They need to feel safe enough to say, I want more, or I need gentleness tonight, or I'm scared, without shame. And when that kind of communication happens, everything changes. They unlock new levels of sensuality. They learn to read each other's bodies like love letters. They begin to trust that their partner won't just take from them, but will also hold them. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. In this space, fantasy isn't taboo, it's an invitation to go deeper. Vulnerability becomes an aphrodisiac. And the result is a kind of sexual intimacy that doesn't just satisfy, it heals. What's even more beautiful is that neither partner is focused on performance. There's no pressure to be wild or edgy or impressive. What matters most is connection. Some nights it may be passionate and intense, other nights it's just slow, quiet closeness under the blankets with soft touches and deep eye contact. Both are sacred. Both are enough. It's not about novelty. It's about knowing what the other needs, not because it's written in a book, but because it's written in the way their hand tightens during a kiss. The way they exhale when touched the right way. The way their breath sinks when they're both completely present. But they must be cautious not to let routine or emotional dependency dull their desire. Cancer couples may grow so comfortable that they forget to stoke the fire. That's why small surprises, gentle initiations, and creative exploration are key to keeping things alive. Not for the sake of spice, but for the sake of wonder. They should never stop discovering each other. And it's not uncommon for these two to experience spiritual awakenings through physical intimacy. They often describe their sexual connection in terms of soul merging, emotional surrender, and energetic union. In a world that often treats sex as transaction or entertainment, their approach feels ancient, sacred, something remembered more than learned. For Cancers, sex isn't a game. It's poetry. Not a fast-paced verse, but a slow, handwritten letter on old parchment, meant to be reread 100 times, each time with deeper meaning. Marriage, building the shell together. This is where the Cancer connection reaches its full potential. It's not just a partnership, it's a life woven from shared dreams, tender rituals, and the deep comfort of emotional safety. While others might chase adrenaline or novelty in a relationship, two Cancers in a marriage seek sanctuary. And together, they build it, brick by emotional brick. Cancers are the homemakers of the zodiac, yes, but not just in the domestic sense. They make homes out of people. Out of memories. Out of moments so small, others might miss them completely. So when two Cancers come together in marriage, it's like watching two master craftsmen slowly carve a world that fits only them. Their bond isn't about flashy declarations or social milestones, it's about presence, tradition, and a shared emotional rhythm that can't be taught. Imagine their home, soft lighting, nostalgic photos, cozy blankets, probably more candles than necessary. It smells like home-baked bread and rosewater. Their kitchen becomes the heart of their love. There's always a kettle on, a favorite song playing softly in the background, and a sense that no matter how wild the world gets, this space, their space, is sacred. They don't just share a life. They tend to it, nurture it, like a garden under moonlight. They remember anniversaries not for the social media post, but because those dates mean something deep and personal. They don't celebrate milestones for show, they celebrate to relive the meaning behind them. Marriage for Cancers is filled with rituals, both spoken and unspoken. Maybe it's Friday night dinners where no phones are allowed. Or Sunday mornings in bed, drinking tea and talking about dreams. Maybe it's writing notes to each other on the fridge when words feel too vulnerable to say out loud. These aren't habits, they're emotional anchors. Predictable, grounding, and filled with love. They thrive on emotional consistency, and their home becomes a living symbol of that, warm, soft-edged, and full of memories waiting to be made. But let's not romanticize it too much. No marriage is flawless, especially one as emotionally charged as Cancer plus Cancer. The very thing that draws them together, their deep emotional intuition, can also become a source of quiet conflict. Both partners feel things deeply, but they don't always express those feelings clearly. There's a tendency to expect the other to just know. And when that unspoken need goes unmet, resentment can bloom in the shadows. Let's say the Cancer man is overwhelmed and silently retreats, hoping she'll sense it and comfort him. Meanwhile, the Cancer woman feels him pulling away and interprets it as rejection, but instead of asking, she withdraws too, wounded, confused, waiting. Neither says a word. Hours pass. Maybe days. And in that silence, they build narratives in their heads, false stories shaped by fear rather than truth. This emotional fog can settle over the marriage if they're not careful, muting the very connection they cherish most. That's why emotional clarity must be more than a goal, it has to be a practice. Marriage between two Cancers thrives when honesty becomes habitual. When they make space for emotional check-ins, not just during conflict, but as a part of everyday life. How are you really feeling today, becomes as important as, did you take out the trash? They must learn to speak even when it's hard, to name what's hurting before it turns into silence, to ask for space without guilt and give comfort without assumption. And while emotional codependency can be a risk, awareness and boundaries transform it into healthy interdependence. They can love each other deeply without losing themselves in the process. That means encouraging individual interests, respecting alone time, and recognizing that needing solitude doesn't mean needing distance from love. One of the most beautiful things about a Cancer-Cancer marriage is their shared sense of legacy. They're often deeply family-oriented, not just in raising children but in building traditions, honoring ancestry, and preserving memory. Photo albums matter. Family recipes are sacred. Holidays are emotionally rich and filled with storytelling. They pass down not just possessions, but feelings, love that lingers through time, like the scent of an old sweater that still holds a loved one's warmth. Their home is likely filled with personal touches, a shelf full of books annotated with shared notes, a wall of framed letters or poems, a garden where they plant something new each year to mark time together. These aren't just aesthetics, they're soul marks. Proof that they've built something from the heart. Proof that love doesn't always have to roar. Sometimes it whispers. Marriage between two Cancers isn't just a partnership, it's a legacy of love built in silence, spoken in gestures. It's not flashy. It's not perfect. But it's real. Deep. And fiercely, unapologetically tender. Friendship, safe space on tap. Cancer and Cancer as friends. It's not just a connection, it's a cosmic support system. Imagine two hearts beating on the same emotional frequency. They don't need to finish each other's sentences because they already know what the other is feeling. There's a psychic thread running between them, soft, invisible, but strong enough to hold both through heartbreak, healing, and every emotional wave in between. It's the kind of friendship that feels like coming home, even when you're far from it. Their bond often begins quietly, without fanfare. Maybe they meet through mutual friends or during a moment of shared vulnerability, two people who just get each other from the start. What starts as a simple conversation turns into hours of reflection, confessions, laughter, and the kind of eye contact that says, "You feel this too, don't you?" That's the beauty of a Cancer-Cancer friendship. It builds slowly, but once it's there, it roots itself deeply. Their emotional intelligence creates a safe haven. These friends don't just hear each other, they listen, without judgment, without interruption. A Cancer friend knows the difference between silence and distance. They'll text you at midnight with, "I just had a feeling," and they'll be right. They remember the date your pet passed away. They save the art you sent them 6 months ago and still reread it when they miss you. Their attention to emotional detail is unmatched. Late-night phone calls are standard fare in this friendship. These conversations aren't just about catching up, they're therapy sessions, spiritual check-ins, and comedy hours all wrapped into one. They share childhood stories they've never told anyone else, dissect dreams with almost prophetic insight, and use humor as a way to gently touch on pain. Their meme exchange could fill a museum exhibit titled, "Inside Jokes That Heal." Because both are water signs ruled by the moon, their moods can sync in uncanny ways. They often feel what the other is feeling without needing to ask. One could be across the country having a rough day, and the other will call just because. It's a friendship built on intuitive care. But here's the thing about water, it absorbs. And in a Cancer-Cancer friendship, that absorption can get intense. When one friend is hurting, the other carries it like their own. Not out of obligation, but out of love. And while that sounds poetic, it can become emotionally draining if there are no boundaries. They may unintentionally take on each other's pain to the point where it blurs the line between empathy and self-neglect. This is why emotional boundaries, even between two ultra-intuitive people, are essential. Learning to say, "I love you, but I need to take care of myself too," can save this friendship from burning out under its own emotional weight. And let's talk about loyalty. This isn't your flaky, talk once every few months, friendship. When two Cancers become close, they treat the bond like family. They'll cancel plans to be by your side when life falls apart. They'll fight for your healing as if it's their own. Loyalty runs bone deep. You don't just have a Cancer friend, you earn one. And once you do, they'll be there through every chapter, even the messy ones. But betrayal? That's a different story. Cancers don't give trust easily, so when it's broken, it doesn't just sting, it shatters. A breach in this kind of friendship feels like emotional exile. Not because they're unforgiving, but because they built something so personal, so rooted in shared emotion, that to lose it feels like losing a piece of self. It's not impossible to rebuild that trust, but it takes time, humility, and a lot of hard work. Still, this is one of the most healing friendships in the zodiac. It's the friend who brings soup when you're sick and stays to watch your comfort movie. It's the friend who writes you letters just because they know texts aren't enough. It's the friend who celebrates your quiet victories and mourns your silent losses. They don't just support you, they witness you. Every version. Every mood. Every transformation. They're the friend who senses you're off before you even realize it. The one who brings up a conversation you were too scared to start. They're not loud about their love, but it's constant. Present. Unshakable. A Cancer friend won't just be there when you cry, they'll cry with you. They'll hold your hand, not just in grief, but in joy too. They'll remind you of your worth when you forget. And if you let them, they'll walk beside you through the hardest parts of life, not as a hero, but as a mirror reflecting back the gentleness you forgot you had. It's not just friendship. It's soul kinship. And it's rare. And if you're lucky enough to have it, never let it go. Business, the empath entrepreneurs. Can two Cancer signs really thrive as business partners? The answer is a resounding yes, but with a twist. A Cancer-Cancer duo in business isn't your typical profit-chasing, Shark Tank dynamic. They're not in it to crush competitors or build empires with hard edges. They're in it to build meaning. For them, a business isn't just a financial venture, it's an emotional legacy. A cause. A carefully nurtured dream they can wrap their arms around and protect like a shared child. These two bring something incredibly rare to the world of commerce: heart-centered leadership. They value integrity over ego, consistency over chaos, and emotional intelligence over manipulation. Whether it's a boutique wellness brand, a family-run cafe, a holistic healing studio, or a socially conscious digital agency, Cancer-Cancer partners won't just build something successful. They'll build something that matters. One of the first strengths they bring to the table is their shared emotional awareness. They don't just collaborate, they intuitively support each other. The Cancer man may instinctively take on a protector role, handling logistics, finances, and risk management with a quiet vigilance. He's the shield. He watches for threats to their vision and plans carefully, never rushing a decision, always thinking long-term. His leadership isn't loud, but it's solid. Grounded. Loyal. The Cancer woman, meanwhile, is the emotional architect of the business. She tunes into the team, the clients, the community. She designs the experience, not just the product. She's often the reason customers feel something when they walk into the store or scroll through the brand's website. Her touch is all over the aesthetic, the communication, the soul of the company. She doesn't just think about how things look, she thinks about how they feel. Together, they form an intuitive balance of head and heart. They make decisions slowly but meaningfully. They're not reactive, they're reflective. They spend hours refining their mission, their values, and their message before they ever touch the marketing strategy. And when they finally launch something, it's authentic, deeply personal, resonant. But that emotional depth cuts both ways. In business, feedback is part of growth. And for two Cancers, both ruled by the sensitive, protective moon, criticism can feel like a personal jab rather than a professional tool. A passing comment from a client or colleague, intended to be constructive, might echo for days. They'll replay it, wonder if they've failed, internalize it far more than they need to. This is where the risk lies. Because when your business is your heart, every critique feels like heartbreak. That's why emotional boundaries are essential in this partnership. They have to separate the business from their personal identity. Not entirely, but enough to keep perspective. They must learn to depersonalize feedback, to listen with openness rather than defensiveness. And most importantly, they need to hold space for each other when emotions get heavy. Because they will. And when they do, it's not about solving the problem instantly, it's about saying, I hear you. Let's figure it out together. Role clarity also plays a huge part in their long-term success. Cancers are natural nurturers, but that can sometimes blur the lines of who's doing what. Overlapping responsibilities might feel generous at first, I'll help you with that, don't worry, but can lead to resentment or confusion if not discussed early and often. Each partner needs to feel seen and valued, not just emotionally, but practically. Clear division of labor, mutual respect, and regular check-ins will keep things flowing smoothly. Their shared mission is the compass that guides it all. This duo isn't driven by greed or prestige, they're motivated by meaning. Maybe they want to create safe spaces for others, give back to their communities, or design something that speaks to the inner world of people just like them. Whatever the goal, it must be emotionally aligned. That shared why becomes their North Star. When times get tough, and they will, that purpose reminds them why they started, and who they're serving. What sets Cancer entrepreneurs apart is their ability to infuse every level of the business with care. From the packaging design to the way they onboard clients, everything is rooted in empathy. Customers feel it. Employees sense it. Their brand doesn't just sell, it connects. It offers emotional value in a world obsessed with speed and surface. Cancers don't hustle to get rich, they hustle to heal, to nurture, to serve. They build businesses that hug the soul, that remind people they're not alone, that there is such a thing as a company with a conscience. In a capitalist world often too cold, too fast, too transactional, Cancer bring the warmth. And that warmth? It's not just good business. It's revolutionary. Final thoughts. So, are Cancer man and Cancer woman a match made in heaven? Absolutely, if they remember that love isn't just about mirroring each other's emotions, but also supporting each other's growth. They have the tools to build an emotional empire, but they need courage to face the waves, not just float in them. Together, they can write a love story that echoes through generations. But only if they're willing to be vulnerable, to communicate without assumption, and to balance giving with receiving. So now the real question is, when the moon shines brightest, will they stand united, or cast two shadows? If this cosmic deep dive resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the other videos on astrology, relationships, and personal growth.